everyone. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you for the space for this vegetable class. Um, I'm going to talk a little bit about management of arthropod pests and cucurbits. So a little bit of a slight change in the title, because the title, I think it was management of insect pests in cucurbits, but arthropods also include mites, and we know that mites are very important in the vegetable cropping systems as well. So I'm gonna basically talk a little bit about the problems of pests in this systems. So just a little bit of definition. Cucurbits includes various types of squash, pumpkins, cantaloupes, a variety of melons and cucumbers. They are original from a lot of different places in the world. So if you think about pumpkins, you're talking about originated from Central America. Uh, Lots of the melons are originated from Africa, cucumbers from the Mediterranean area. So why is that important? Well, because basically this ties back to the different type of pests that we have in the system as well, because the different coevolutionary path uh, went together when we included this different species in our cultivations. We also brought them. Um, we also brought the pests that were closely together. So just to summarize, is basically that we have a plethora of different insect pests that attacks cucurbits. Um, and they are basically very similar between the cucurbit crops, but some crops, they are more attractive and more susceptible than the others. For example, squash. If you think about squash bugs or whiteflies, for example. Um, for this particular class, I am using a very good reference literature course book. This is absolutely not an ad, but this is the book I use. Garden Insects of North America is very updated, is very didactic, right? And it's a very good collection. It is very large collection, and you have information for identification and basic management of this pest. So it is a good recommendation um, for for not only for cucurbits but for plenty of vegetable crops in North America. Talking about a little bit on the major pests on cucurbits in the Alabama scenario in the southeast, we have squash vine borer. Uh, they can be very problematic, so they are very destructive. They prefer cucumber, squash, and gourd. The larvae overwinter in the soil, so you will see the galleries coming up in the very base of the plant, and that will turn your plant. They will kill the plant. The females lay a lot of eggs, so 150 to 200 eggs each time. The moths are clear winged, and they have this reddish characteristics in the body, so you will see them from afar because they are very bright, and they will pop out in the green foliage. And rope rovers and field sanitation are very important. Um, so both the adults and the nymphiphids, they overwinter as adults, so they will be around. The eggs are laid in masses. So sanitation is really important for this. Other host pests that they can be attacking could be tomatoes, some crucifers like cole crops, broccoli. They can be on the snap beans or southern peas, tobacco. So they're really important for this. It's one of the major pests. And moving on to another one. So this is the squash vine borer, and squash bugs are part of the major pests that we have here in Alabama as well. Some other major pests that we have are cucumber beetles. So we have three species of cucumber beetles here. They are native in North America. They overwinter as well, which means that they will be ready when the crop is ready. They can have 2 generations per year, so they are basically beetles, so their larval form is also passed on the roots. They have chewy mouth parts, both the larvae and the adults, and the males produce segregation pheromones. So once they find the food, they will send an alert sign signal to the other individuals, and they will proliferate in the leaves. So they have this webbing characteristic when they feed on the leaf material. And they are primary vector of the Erwinia bacterial wilt, which is a very bad disease in the cucurbit in cucumbers. And they basically get this transmission through the mouth parts. So the bacteria will be on the mouth parts, so they will chill, they will destroy the plant tissue, and they will proliferate the bacteria through feeding. The squash bug, as I talked a little bit in the previous slide, is common on cantaloupe, pumpkin, and squash. They are flattened dorsal surface, so they are very characteristic when you see it in the field. And they have a long straw-like mouth part, very different from assassin bugs that have short and thick mouth parts, and they are actually natural enemies, which are good. Both adults and nymphs, they suck the plant sap, and the larger nymphs, they can be as devastating as the adults. So never underestimate the nymphs of hemipteran pests. They overwinter as adults in large clusters. Again, they have 1 generation per year, but that's enough to cause damage. Brick red eggs are laid in masses. I probably have a picture later here to show, and they transmit yellow vine decline disease. So just a little close up on the characteristic damage of cucumber beetles on this picture, and over here some adults in the
Follow, you're frozen in time.
I think that he frozen. We lost him for a while.
Yeah, it appears he got kicked off.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't do it.
No, I think my internet connection is a little bit unstable for some reason. Okay, so can you hear me good now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Share your screen again.
Yeah,
Okay,
just share that screen and jump back in where you left off, and
share the screen again. Okay.
maybe we'll edit the video. There
All
you
right.
are.
Can you see that?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay. I'm not sure when I stopped talking there for you, but I was showing the different species here that they can live in mixed populations, so you can find both of them attacking at the same time. And I was talking as well about the aggregation on the flowers, so they have so they can be on the structures of the flowers, and they can aggregate, and this also serves as protection for some pesticides, which is really important to have early sanitation and early control of this pests in the vegetative stage. And like I say, they can live in mixed populations. Striped cucumber beetles are more associated with fruit damage. So here we have some damage on the melon rind. Over here, this is very characteristic as well. This is absolutely a no-no for melon production. This will be very devastating. And this on pumpkins as well. You can see the characteristical damage here on the fruit. So they are really damaging if not controlled. And then they are firstly in Alabama. They are followed by squash bugs and vine borers later. So this is basically a pest system, a closed pest system. But also they could attack the seedlings and destroy the plants early on. So it's really important to control late in the season if there's a plan for a succession. So basically these are the three species that we have here. This is Dr. A. Majonder, Ayanava Majonder's material. He summarized it very well and distributed this among the growers. But here we have the striped cucumber beetle, the spotted cucumber beetle, and the bonded cucumber beetle. So the first two are more present, but this one is also seen with some frequency. This material will also be shared with you, so you can take a screenshot if you want, but it's gonna be shared with you as well. But basically to show the main characteristics of them. So morphologically, we can distinguish between them. And like I said, the striped cucumber beetle is the one usually associated with the injury on the fruits. So there are no evidence for aggregation pheromone in the other species, but on the striped cucumber beetle, that happens very distinctively. So the striped and the spotted cucumber beetle, they attack the seedlings in the first 2 to 3 weeks in Alabama. So this is a critical stage for control. The striped cucumber beetles also aggregate on the flowers, leaves, fruits of weeds, but they only reproduce in the cucurbit system. In the banded cucumber beetle is more associated with defoliation by the adults. So the larvae can be found feeding on the roots, but the adult is the one that causes more damage. There are a lot of characteristics. Scaring of fruits, aggregation is an issue. Some larval feeding, the primary vector of diseases, and some viruses. But here is what is the most important. The economic threshold for striped cucumber beetles are only 2 beetles per plant. So if you see that, that's when you have to take action. For spotted cucumber beetles, then that number is a little higher. Okay, so here we have 3 different species of Lepidopterans. So we have the pickleworm, squash vine borer, and the melonworm. So they are very characteristic. Pickleworms are the most seen species in the Southeast. They have this brown moth. You can see them flying around the system. The larvae are yellow, yellowish with black dots, characteristic black dots here. You can see some frass around the flowers informations in the small fruits. They lose the spots when they get older. So these are the younger larvae, and as they get older, they are just like smooth. Sorry about that. Back. The squash. Okay. Yeah. So the squash vine borer, they don't have the characteristic tufts in the abdomen, and the legs are laid in the base of the plant. So if you have tufts in the abdomen, it's either pickleworm or melonworm. The larvae produces a lot of tunnels and produces a high amount of frost. So this is another characteristic. And for the melonworm, they have this whitish wings with dark edges, and the larvae causes a lot of feeding in the rind together with some webbing. It's more superficial than usually the pickleworm, but the importance of knowing the different species of moths in your system is because the control might be different. So again, this is another material from Dr. A. It will be available as well. So feel free to get this. And there's also a web blog for prediction system right here. This is going to be available as well. For the activity period, all the description. Just a little bit more information on that. The larvae tunnels buds, blossoms, fruits. They weather in lower latitudes, so parts of South Florida and Texas, and northward migrations annually into Georgia and the Carolinas. So they start from Florida region, and they move up. Melonworm are pale yellowish green and feeds on foliage, and they usually causes scaring of the rind instead of tunneling on the fruits. Like I say, they are pale in early ages, darkened with stages, darkened with ages. Their adults are exorbitant. This is part of the course book that I showed, but just to show some examples here, some more examples. So the adults usually disperse to weedy and woody areas. So sanitation is really important, getting rid of your weeds is very important as well. This is basically the same. Moving on, this is now not a chewing insect pest. These are basically sucking mouth parts, aphids. They basically cause damage by feeding on the sap of the plant, and they cause wilting, yellowing, and in extreme cases that usually happens when you have missing timing or when you have weather conditions that are favorable to the aphids, then you can have death of the older leaves, and this reduces production substantially. Melon aphids, transmits mosaic virus, so cucumber mosaic virus, zucchini yellow mosaic virus, and watermelon mosaic virus, which are not desirable. Systems are more prevalent in summer and less so in the early spring, so they have a peak activity period in the summer. Mrs. aphids, the green peach aphid, are long and they have green siphoncally. So basically, this is one characteristic for a correct identification of your species of aphids. So this is exactly what I'm talking. The long and green siphonculi, and the cotton melon aphids, they have short and black siphonculi here. So just for distinguish of the species that you were dealing there, in this is some of the damage you can cause later. This is mosaic virus damage in the fruit. So, and this is an adult, for example, with the nibs here. This is a male adult, so it has wings to dispersal, but the female absolutely don't need the males to reproduce. So this is part of the big problem with aphids. They are extremely prolific because they have characteristics that makes them basically a reproduction machine. They are sexual and asexual, so they can switch based on the different environment. This is a fancy word. Thelyticus parthenogenesis is a fancy word to say that the females can lay eggs without the males, and all their eggs will be females. That's not only it. The females that are laid are already pregnant. So they are really, really fast in terms of reproduction, and they have male clonality. So they can they will basically pass on the genetic characteristics that they have. And why is this important? Well, because they can be highly host adaptive, and all the males that had resistance to an insecticide will be cloned. So the next generation will definitely have insecticide resistance as well. So for that, we need to count on an integrated pest management basis and include different tactics for control. Natural control, something that is already happening in the field that maintains the levels down, are the predators. So your ladybugs are great. So if you see the ladybugs, they are doing their job. Lacewings are doing their job, the green small ones. And also the presence of small wasp parasitoids that can be laying their eggs inside the aphids. So when you see this situation here where you see aphid mummies, this is what they are. So they are very characteristic. This is because there is a parasitoid growing inside. So this means that your system is really good. So bear in mind when you need to go to an insecticide application later on. For cultural control, you could use reflective mulch for aphids because they usually feeds underside the leaves, but that's not like they are not excluded on that. In the preservation of close natural enemy habitats. So whenever you have lady beetles or parasitoids, you might have flowers, you might have pockets of landscape that may be preserving them over there as well. For chemical control, always use rotation. There are some options. So Admire on neonics, the methoate. You can use diamides, some as Exero. You can use some aphicides like Belief or Fulfill, but never use pyrethroids on aphids. So this is an example of cucurbit leaf crumple virus and the damage they causes on the plants. This is very characteristic of aphid-related problem. Squash bugs, just a little bit more about that. I basically touched base on the first slide. They have different species as well, but the most important is Anacetrystis. It has been associated with yellow vine disease in watermelon in Oklahoma and Tennessee, in some reports in Georgia as well. The classic bug damage, so it causes wilting of the plant by injecting toxic saliva. This is the way that stink bugs and true bugs feed. They have this pumping system where they have to inject saliva in order to feed on the plant material. So this is the result of their feeding. This is a very, very high activity of squash bug in pumpkin, and this is the yellow vine disease that they can be transmitting. For management, the late season crops are not ideal for growers.
Seems we've lost Paulo again. Maybe Auburn's not paying their internet bill on time. There he goes. He's logged back on.
I don't know what's happening.
You got to pay that internet bill.
Well, that's Auburn's internet. I don't know why it's that bad.
Yeah.
Can you see this here?
Yeah, we pick right up where you left off.
Okay. So I talked about the symptom of cucurbit leaf crumple virus. You got this? Okay, just the characteristic symptom of the cucurbit leaf crumple virus, an indicator of aphid infestation as well. So leaves are basically distorted and atrophiated here. You can see this leaf here will not, absolutely not be providing enough photosynthesis for production. Okay. So I started talking about squash bugs. The different squash bug species are Anassa tristis and Anassa armigera. Anassa armigera is also called horned squash bug. It is prevalent in South Alabama in the summer, but the main species is Anassa tristis. This pest has been associated with yellow vine disease of watermelon in Oklahoma and Tennessee. Right here, this is an example of the yellow vine disease, a pocket of plants with the chlorotic characteristics in the middle here. This can be associated with squash bugs. And it also produces the classic but toxic saliva. In this is what a high infestation of squash bugs look like on pumpkin because of intense feeding. Okay, so you can even see the individuals right here. So this is very compromised. For the management, I avoid late season crops. They are not ideal. It's not ideal as I mean not avoid. You can have late season crops, but it's not ideal as growers prefer already mature plants. You can also use Hubbard squash or pumpkin because they have a high preference to Cucurbita species for trap cropping if you have cucumber and melon production. So you use that as your trap crop if cucumber and melon are your cash crop. And you could use insecticides. In this case, you could be using Warrior, Brigade or Discipline, Mustang Max, Sparaetroids. Again, you have to be aware that you don't have microhemipteran problems like aphids, whiteflies, and special spider mites as well. Or you can also be using Lenate, which is an organophosphate. This is an example of perimeter trap cropping arrangement, which is highly effective. It's very successful, not only for the squash bugs, but also for cucumber beetles, because they are really attracted to squash, for example, Hubbard squash. But in the case of Hubbard squash, be aware that you will need more space in management. But here you have the main crop over here. You have your perimeter trap crop in here that can be early planted, and you can apply insecticide in this area. So this is a report by Dr. A. Squash lured 66% of cucumber beetles and up to 90% of squash bugs away from the main crop production. So it is highly effective, and it can also be successful for the squash vine borer. But in this case, there's another factor that accounts for it, which is timing. Timing is crucial. So a good integration with your pesticide management is also important for these different pests. Moving on to leaf-footed bug, another species of hemipteran. It's a big problem for high tunnel productions. So it requires early and constant sanitation over there, but you can also make use of shade cloths. It's really good to maintain the populations low and out. There are different species of leaf-footed bug, but this is the main important one, Leptoglossus philippus. So many of the species were reported from Florida up to the to other southeastern stages, and it can be well, it can be spotted as far north as New York and ranges south to Florida, west to California, and you can also see them in Mexico, Guatemala, and Costa Rica. But they are polyphagous. They are extremely attracted to tomato, potato, beans, cowpeas, citrus, and I underline here okra is absolutely a magnet for leaf-footed bugs. So be aware if you have a history of leaf-footed bugs in the area and you're planning to plant okra, that is a big magnet for them. For spring reproduction, they reproduce in the spring. They lay out the barrel-shaped eggs on the plants. Right here, this is the characteristic eggs that they have, and this is a nice parasitoid working on getting rid of them, which is fantastic. The young nymphs are basically, they resemble the adults. They aggregate a lot as well. Both nymphs and adults, they cause damage by sucking the sap from the pods, the buds, the blossoms, and cause distorted leaves, and they can cause distortion of the fruits. For example, in this picture here, where two adult leaf-footed bugs are reproducing over the squash. Their life cycles last about 40 days, and they can survive in multiple generations a year in the South. So egg parasitoids like the Gryon often keeps populations below economically damaging levels. You could use sorghum and sunflower as trap crops, but you can use either pyrethroids. But if you want a good organic option, Pyganic is generally good for your control. So this is just an example again from Dr. A in trap crops of sorghum and sunflower for leaf-footed bugs. In this case, is for tomato, but just to show up that they are usually very effective, not only for leaf-footed bugs, but other species of stink bugs, included the brown marmorated stink bug. Check on time real quick. Okay. Moving on to the spider mites, just quickly talking about the main pest that is the just spotted spider mite, the Trannicozoorticeae. They are highly resistant to chemicals. Pyrethroids should absolutely be avoided. There is many exclamation points here because pyrethroids absolutely will boost up spider mites population. The threshold generally, if 10 to 25% of the leaves have spider mites or spider mite eggs, like this small, very circular shaped structure right here, that counts as well, then a miticide should be applied like Agrimac or Oberon. The lower threshold of these spider mites may be applied in hot and dry weather. So if it's hot and dry, you need to be accounting for less than that to spray your insecticide. You can also make use of beneficial arthropods. So for example, other mites, predatory mites, and there are some currently commercially available options. Moving on to whiteflies, so we have two main species of whiteflies. The sweet potato whiteflies, Demesia tabaci, is the one that you will mainly find in the field, and they can be a problem in the greenhouse or semi-field environments, for example, high tunnels. You can also find the greenhouse whitefly. Usually the Bemisia will be the main species. So the sweet potato whitefly, also known as silverleaf whiteflies, can cause damage in low numbers. In squash, they will give the characteristic silvering of the leaf. For example, you can see right here some a healthy leaf, a healthy looking leaf against the silverleaf symptom, and this can take over the entire squash field. It's very characteristic. It's not a disease. It's only it's a silvering of the leaf, basically. It's a late summer to early fall problem, so we're gonna start seeing them around June, July. Of course, the weather conditions in the winter may affect the availability of whiteflies for the next season. So, for example, this year we had snowfall in basically all the parts of the state, so we might have a delay on the whiteflies. They prefer the hot and dry conditions. These are very favorable for whiteflies. So pockets of this may be breeding zones for them. Over 5 adults per leaf on early season can be a problem already. And for greenhouse whiteflies, they are mainly a problem for ornamentals. In the wings of the greenhouse whiteflies, they are kind of like roof-shaped and very characteristically different from the Mysia. And their nymphs have hairy-like structures. So this is a way to differentiate them, but they are not usually a problem outside the greenhouse system. It is the whiteflies are geminivirus vectors, so they transmit yellowing viruses in cucurbits. This is a big problem. So bottom line in all this slide here, I know it's a lot of information. Again, I'll make it available, but bottom line is whiteflies can cause direct damage by sucking the sap from by sucking the contents on the cells in the leaves, and that can produce. But the main problem with whiteflies are the indirect effects that they have. So low numbers of whiteflies are enough to cause to transmit this viral diseases and the silvering disorder as well in squash, for example. So like I said, the silverleaf disorder in squash, we still use insecticides there as the main control strategy, especially because we have this cotton and cucurbits mosaic of production here in the Southeast. So insecticide resistance management is key to control the populations. So first line of defense is always using host plant resistant traits. So in case of row crops, for example, cotton, when you talk about a hairy leaf cotton, then you might have problems with whiteflies because whiteflies will be over there. However, this might be the opposite when we're talking about cucurbits or vegetables, as the trichomes, so the hairy leaves, may contain toxins that will repel or not allow the whiteflies to survive on that. So always important to look on that. And use of reflective mulching as well can be important as the whitefly feeds on the underside of the leaves. But basically, what is the insecticide problem with whiteflies? Well, because of their highly reproductive potential, they can produce multiple generations in a season. They have a unique genetic machinery, so they are haplodiploid, which basically means that their males carry only half of their genetic characteristics, so they necessarily pass on to the next generation whatever they have. So if they're resistant, their next generation may be more resistant than them, and they are capable of hijacking detoxification genes from plants, for example. And they are extremely prolific. They're extremely generalist. So they are over 1,000 plant species. And on top of that, we go there and we put selection pressure with the use of pest insecticides multiple times, and this will increase the characteristic for insecticide resistance. And in fact, there are over 70 different insecticides already. This needs to be updated. That Mysia tabaci has been reported to exhibit some sort of resistance as well already. I just want to pass through this very quickly to show up one experiment with cucurbits that we have, just to see basically what was the dynamics of cucurbits planted alongside with cotton, and to see two different varieties. So basically, in this case, I used cantaloupe, and we used cotton with glabrous and pubescent leaves, basically saying smooth or hairy leaf varieties in 3 different management strategies: and untreated, treated with neck, and treated with the diamide Exero. And on the dynamics part of the results, just moving on. So the leaf varieties that has a huge concentration of hairs had higher whitefly presence. So in this case, because we were comparing cotton and melon, then if you have more hair in your leaves, then you can have more whiteflies. That seems to happen on the opposite if you're talking about tomatoes, because tomatoes release a lot of chemicals that will deter whitefly population. Just highlighting here a little bit on the pubescent, the number of whiteflies present were generally higher than the leaves that were smooth. And the smooth leaf cotton suppresses more whiteflies than the smooth melon. So again, just highlighting here that cotton is extremely non-glandular trichome plant, so all the hairy structures will not have any sort of chemical that will deter. So therefore, you will not see as many whiteflies when you don't have trichomes in the cotton. And from the chemical side, Exerel, the diamide, exhibited a higher initial mortality in the pubescent varieties. So all the reddish column here is the Exerel. So it was generally the best insecticide option that we have. There are some future efforts that we are going to conduct. So to look at the qualitative aspects of the trichomes, so the hairs, if they are glandular or not, and how that affects whitefly settling and infestation. And we're gonna investigate not only this intercropping setting, but we are also going to evaluate succession and rotation models. Okay. Bottom line here, just wanted to show from the insecticide option for whitefly control, the very good plus option, the top shelf option that we have right now is Sevental Prime and Exerel. Very good options that you can include in the rotation scheme are Venom, Assail, Admire, and Neck. I just put an asterisk, a double asterisk in Admire, is that we need to keep looking for neonic resistance in whiteflies, because there is an indication that this can be built up in this pest. Okay. Some other good options that we can use: PQZ, Movent, and Courier, and also if you need to include as well Torec, Belief, and Belay in your shelf can be fair tactics for control. I also included this QR code here for the Southeastern U.S. Vegetable Crop Handbook, but I also shared the link. And like I said in the beginning, we have physical copies that are going to be distributed among the growers by our colleagues, the regional extension agents. So summarizing for other insect management considerations, this is a good consideration to take attention here. Pollination is very crucial to cucurbit prediction. Any disruption of this system, this natural system, will directly affect the yield. So we need to be very smart in the decision-making tools here. Wild bees and other insects are normally sufficient to pollinize small fields, but if you have fields that exceeds 1 to 2 acres, you might have to bring beehives for pollination. And you could also use, for example, 1 beehive for every 2 to 3 acres of pumpkins and squash. Bees are part of the production of vine crops. And they normally forage as close to the hive as possible. So usually within a quarter of a mile, you have to place the hives around the field. The blossom density for squash and pumpkins is very low. They are not attractive to bees. And each of these flowers needs to be visited at least 15 times to complete pollination. So incomplete pollinations may result in small or misshapen fruit. So I just wanted to touch point with this is very important. So be mindful on the insecticide characteristics. Some organic control tactics, just to finish up this class, is to avoid high pest seasons. So try to be smart on timing, reduce pest residue and weeds as well. This is very important. Intercrop increases diversity and hide the crop, so the insects will be basically more favorable to go to other areas instead of your cash crop. Mulch and mulch is very important as well. Reflective mulch, host plant resistance where available, using barriers and traps when available as well. Some biological based insecticides like BT or Spinosa bacteria, the same principle for radiant. Plant extracts for like neem oil and some nematodes. So a lot of studies are being conducted to look at this. And natural enemy release and increase like lacewings and lady beetles, for example, that are available. And with that, I will be open to any questions you might have.